Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today we're going to wire up our first accessories on the 8-ball, our 2006 Nissan Xterra. Like on any off-road vehicle ever built, we're of course going to start with putting on lights. So when I decided to put on a light, I got to thinking about other things I might want to put on the vehicle in the future. So what I'm actually going to do today is put in an auxiliary fuse box in, a set of switches, and then of course install our first accessory, which is our light. I also bought the wiring kit to go with this fuse box. It doesn't just come with it automatically. And for mounting the light, we're going to mount it on the hood using a non-destructive method, using a pinch mount on the rear of the hood. Links to all this are down in the description below if you're interested in picking up what I'm using. Let's start by putting in our fuse box and mounting our light and seeing how much wiring we're going to need. For mounting location, I think we're going to put it right on top of our relay box here. It's real close to the battery. I was thinking about vertically down here. I don't think that's really going to work. Plus, I want to be able to easily see everything going on. So I'm just going to stick it on the top here. If you pop the cover off, you'll see that the top is our negative. Down below is our positive. We have our individual posts here if we want to put our actual negatives into this, other than just grounding wherever we put the accessory. And then down here is our main post for positive. And then of course we put in all of our fuse connections here. I'm actually really excited about this idea because if you guys watch me, you know that generally when I add stuff to a vehicle, I'll use an add a link to, or add a circuit, if you will, to the interior fuse block. And if you're adding a bunch of stuff to a vehicle, you don't really want to do that. So I'm adding this to, of course, add as many things as I want. In this case, up to 6. But you could buy bigger versions of this if you want more accessories. As far as orientation, I'm going to put the positive on this side because the positive post of the battery is like literally right here. And then negative on the other side, I can run it to the far side of the battery. I'm going to start by using double-sided Gorilla Tape. This stuff is pretty darn crazy. If I find that it doesn't work, I'll certainly let you know, and then I'll just find some really shallow screws. Obviously, you don't want to go crazy here because you have relays sitting right here, so you don't want to freaking, drill in some screws directly into those things. Just be really careful, but for now, I'm just gonna grab this, stick it on here, and then cut the strips that I need and stick it on the top of the relay box. Overall, I've had a really good experience with this tape. It usually sticks like all hell, so we'll see how it goes. Next up, we're just gonna pop off these nuts here. These are 8mm. Grab the positive. This is not going to the battery yet, so I'm just gonna grab that. Oh, that's great, so it doesn't fit. So I'll have to shave one side down here. Oh, that's a little annoying because on Amazon, they kind of made it sound like this is the one that it's supposed to go with, but that's all right. So I just ground that down a little bit on my grinder. Then we can throw it on there. Throw on your washer, throw on the lock washer. Obviously put that nut on, and we can tighten it down. Now just do the same with the negative. Washer, lock washer, nut. Again, this is not hooked up to the battery, guys. All right, they both feel tight, looking pretty good. We have our case, make sure that fits on. Obviously, that's gonna be really no issue. And then what's nice is it has spots here as well, and they give you a bunch of different options for stickers, so you can make yourself a fuse box map right away. And then once you stick it on there, obviously you know where everything is. And then also there is lights that will actually light up to let you know when the fuse is blown. So we're gonna leave this just like this, and then we're gonna go start wiring up our light and our switch before connecting any of this to the battery. Next up, we're gonna place the light, and I decided I wanna put the light right there. I think it's gonna blend in well with everything else going on here. I think it's gonna be surprisingly subtle. It's gonna sit right above my little GoPro mount. I'm just gonna pop that off and do something different with that. And it shouldn't interfere with the windshield wipers, and of course, also not your washer fluid jets. So for me, I always try to go a non-destructive route when I install things, and this is an attempt at doing that. This is a pinch mount, if you will, and it has a little screw at the top where you mount whatever you want to mount. Usually it's ditch lights, but I'm going to try it with this bar light here. And then you have 5 little set screws at the bottom that are going to pinch a metal plate against the bottom and the top of the hood. So I'm going to bring the hood back up. I'm going to place these approximately where I think they're going to go, and then we're going to kind of shift it left and right to get it where we need it to be. So I'm going to grab the mount for the light and then actually install it on this first. So it'll look something like that. And then I'm going to put it on here afterwards. All right, so I have it in there, and I think it's going to go right about there. Okay. And then just from the underside, I'm going to go just sort of, finger tighten, if you will. In fact, I'll just do that now, just to get them in place so we can get our spacing correct. So it actually already feels surprisingly good. And then I'm just gonna do the same with the other side and then slap the light on. All right, cool. Now when I shut it, I am seeing that the set screws do hit the cowl, but it doesn't really look that malformed, so I think we're just gonna keep going. Seems, it honestly seems okay to me. So I'm grabbing the light and I'm just gonna get 1 screw per side in. Did I size it? Oh my gosh, I almost sized it perfectly. What the heck? There we go. There's 1. Just a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Come on. Thread. There. So far, I really like it. My only thought already would be it should be bigger, but that's okay. It looks like after installing, I was right. We're not going to have any issue with the windshield wipers or, of course, the jets. So I'm going to scoot it a little bit over, make sure that it's about the same exact distance from here to here on both sides, and that will just automatically mean that it's centered. All right, that looks about perfect. So I'm going to lift it up and then tighten down all those set screws. This is also a good test to see if it obstructs, which it does not. Very cool. I thought maybe it would hit the, you know, something coming up. The beauty is as well, when we tighten all these up, it's probably going to hit the cowl a little bit less too. I'm just going to work from the outside in on these. All right, this is tightened down. I'm kind of impressed with how strong they feel. So I think we're in a pretty good place. Let me just sort of do this and see how bad that is. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty bad actually. I might have to actually drill through the cowl or create like a little divot for that wire to go through because it's pretty tight. Yeah, it's getting smooshed. So I know I just finished saying that I wanted to be non-destructive, but in this case, I really don't want to be crushing that wire between the hood and the cowl. So I am going to drill a hole right here inside this drain here under the cowl, and then drill a hole in the top and just feed the wire through. Just be really careful right here because you have your, I think this is body harness or engine harness, whatever. It goes to the ECM and goes back inside to the inside of the cabin. So just going to be real careful here and then drill it out. So we were very careful. Got a little bit of that outside loom, but we'll be all right. So now we just need to close this and then drill the hole for the top and then feed it through. Just jamming it right here. Quick and easy, cheap, cheesy plastic. I'm just gonna bind these wires up, push them through, and then go underneath. The cowl's already lifted up on mine, so you may have to pull it up if you're doing the same thing. You may have to unsnap it, but mine's been like this for ages. So I'm gonna grab this, and again, just feed it through the hole I just made. Awesome, there we go. Whew, it's pretty tight. So I'm gonna keep feeding this in, and then it's already in the open position. So once I have the light where I want it to be, like right there, that's about how much I'm gonna be able to feed through. There, perfect. So then we'll just run it with that harness and we'll do our connections right there. Not too shabby. All right, with all this here, let's go deal with our switch. Once the switch is in, we're just gonna wire everything up. Now, I did buy this 4-switch panel and I was all pumped to install it right about here or down here, but then I'd forgotten that below this is a metal plate. It's not just this plastic piece here. If it was just the plastic, we could have mounted it right here and had no issue, but I'm not about to start cutting into the substructure of the dash. But then it occurred to me, all these plates is individual switches, literally just snapped into these plates. So if you take them out, they should snap in directly to the Nissan holes, if you will, the blanks that are in here already. This X is pretty stripped down. I have 2 blanks on the left, and I have 3 blanks in the dash next to my 4-wheel drive selector. So I already took one out just to show you because it's nearly impossible to show footage underneath behind a steering wheel under a dash. But here's one of the blanks, and you'll see there's just a little tab here, and it goes around this, and you need to get a little screwdriver underneath, lift it up, and then they push backwards into the dash, and that's how you get these out. For the switches, if you buy a panel and you want the switch out, you literally just push on the bottom and the top, and they should start coming out. There you go. Perfect. If you see the back of these switches, they're all wired in series. And the reason they do this is you have a single positive and a single negative. Then you have these open posts here where you stick on your whatever your load is. It's a great design because you wire it up once and then you have 4 things that you can run off this switch. The problem is with this design, if you're running multiple switches on a single circuit and each load is hooked up to each switch, you're gonna have a lot of load across these switches, which you don't wanna do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 switches in, since there's 2 blanks here. I'm going to wire them in series just like you see them. I'm going to take a dedicated circuit using an ATA circuit and run it to these 2 switches. Then the load that goes out on these switches is actually going to go to a relay, which is going to turn on the light. That way you're not running a bunch of juice through these switches, which is going to make them malfunction, and you don't really want a bunch of power running behind your dash if you don't have to. So I'm popping out 2, and I'm going to cut the wires the way I need them to. All right, here's our 2 switches. I pop these off. I cut these last 2 wires. So now we have another 2 switches with another 2 leads if we ever want to put something down on the other side. So I'm going to get 2 leads on the load lines here, run them down so that way once the switches are installed, we're not going to have difficulty getting those lines. Then I'm going to run an ATA circuit for the positive on the switches from the fuse block in the cabin, and then go ground this out somewhere. All right, so as discussed, here's what I did. I saved you all the, crimping footage, if you will. So in here, we have our switch, and our switch is going to have, again, a circuit dedicated to itself, and it's going to, so this brown wire is already fed through the hole in the dash. It's going to go over there to the passenger side and hit a fuse in the fuse block. This black, I'm going to ground probably somewhere in the footwell like I usually do. And then this red wire, I fed from underneath the dash. I already have a pre-existing hole for the antenna for my CB radio. So I fed it through the firewall there. I'm going to plug it into the load on this first switch. So plug it in here. There we go. So that's all looking tidy. And then once that goes into the engine bay, that's going to feed the trigger on the relay. So now that we have all these wired up, I'm going to snap this into the dash. I'm going to wire up the second button, get a second lead ready. In case I want to add something, I can just, have it underneath the dash somewhere and snap them both into the holes. All right, so I have these all wired up, and I decided that before I push them in and kind of snap them into place, I'm going to wire up everything else. And then if this is good, then I'll push them in. Let's ground this out and add this to our ATA circuit. All right, so the ground is in. Please don't judge me on that. And then I have my ATA circuit for the power. I just ran it under the dash and brought it over here. So I'm not going to show you how to do an ATA circuit. I have, at least 6 videos on my channel showing that. If you do need it, I'll put it up in the upper right-hand corner, a video with a timestamp on how to do that. So now our switches should have power. We have our load wire running into the engine compartment. So let's go wire up the light. All right, so for our wiring, coming out of the light, now this one's a bit complicated because it has like a running light, a driving light, and then an off-road light. And so I'm actually just going to use it for off-road only. So that means I'm going to combine a couple of these wires. I believe it's red and blue. And then the black, of course, goes to ground. And the white, I'm just going to snip for now. I might wire that up to like the headlights or running lights just because it's kind of a cool look. But for now, we're not going to deal with that. On our relay is positive here, the switch here, so the one coming out of the switch, the positive for the load and the negative for the load. And of course, we have to tie those into the negative and positive of our supplies as well. So I'm going to do the switch first. It's here, it's easy, it's accessible. So I just need to strip it. And on the relay, it goes to the white. I have one of those waterproof connectors in there. Just slide that in. So grab my heat gun and get that thing soldered. Let it cool and on to the next one. Next up, I'm going to ground the relay, and I'm going to ground it directly to the block here. I'm just going to use 1 ground for the relay and 1 ground for the light itself. I know for a fact I'm not going to be grounding 6 things on here, especially when you put accessories in the rear, for instance. You're not going to run a ground wire all the way up. So 1 ground for the relay, 1 ground for the light, and I'll just do both of those now. Next up, the blue from the relay goes to the red and blue on the light. Remember, this is because I'm going to use the off-road feature only. The red would be for the driving light, the blue would be for the off-road, and then if you put them together, it's they're just going to be switched together. I'm going to go directly into the relay on this one and not extend the wires because I'm going to put the relay back here, I believe, when I'm done. The white one is the accent light. I'm just going to snip that for now. There we go. Last up for our relay is the positive. So I'm going to grab that. Nice, the wiring's done. So now all we need to do is hook everything up to the fuse box, hook the fuse box up to the battery, clean up all the wiring, and our light should work just fine. All right, that's it. We are done. Everything's hooked up. As far as cleanup, a lot of the relays will come with a little hook and a little plate to screw onto anything you want. So I'm probably just gonna put it right up here, stick it on there, maybe even use more double-sided sticky tape, who knows, but I just wanna get it up out of the way. And of course, I'm gonna do some cleanup. You guys don't have to watch me do that, but I'm gonna get these all set up so it's not just sitting on the engine, of course. And now the most important part is to go actually test the light. All right, so I turned off all the lights in here so we can test it out, see how bright we can make my trash heap of a garage. So I wired these up to accessory, so you'll notice they didn't turn on until I put the car in accessory mode, and this should be the switch. And hey, look at that. Sure enough, it works. Well, honestly, I'm loving the look. I'm happy with it. I'm happy where it's at. Happy with the performance so far, lighting up a dark garage, but we'll kind of see how it performs once we get on the trails. I'm also pumped to have that auxiliary fuse box because in that way, when we start putting more stuff on this, right, there's less wiring to do than we just did. I felt good about the switches, so I pushed them all the way in, and sure enough, they're a nice tight fit in those existing Nissan blanks. So in case you're wondering, those Nightlight kit, the one that's in the description below, that will fit in there perfectly. Also, the wiring diagram I showed earlier, I'll make that available on my website, again, down in the link in the description below, so that way you don't have to keep coming back to this video to see it. But that's gonna be it for this video. I really appreciate you watching. If you have any comments or suggestions, put them down in the comments below. Please, please subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you in the next one.